Hello, amigas, and welcome to Amiga Handle Your Shit podcast. So I have a very beautiful soul right in front of me. Her name is Linda Gonzales. She is our favorite realtor, okay?
Yes.
One of our favorite. I shouldn't say my favorite just because I've had other realtors on this podcast and they're all lovely. Believe me, they're all lovely,
Yeah.
but she's known
We all
as
have a special place in your heart.
there you go. Thank you so much for correcting the languaging behind that. Yes,
Mhm.
yes. Everyone has a special place in my heart. But Linda, I've known her for a couple of years, and we met through the BABC Book Club.
Yes.
And it is a nonprofit, and it's just a beautiful tribe of women who love to read. And as I've gone to know Linda, I have seen her expansion and her growth. And she does something that I feel amigas out there can really take stock and get to know about this side of her programs that she has unleashed. She's a realtor, but more than that, she is someone who's done deep explorations into international waters. And that's the reason we have her here, because I'm sure, as many of you have listened to our prior episode with the Two Peacocks Travel, who are a beautiful group that helps you travel all over the world. Well, when you do a travel, you might consider buying. And so I needed to bring her here to talk about all those things. But before we do, we get to know more about Linda. So welcome, Linda, to
Thank
the
you.
Have Your
Thank
Shit
you.
podcast. It's such an honor to have you here, and I'm so grateful that you're spending time with me. And I know that our episode is going to be very juicy because you get to tell us how we can be these wealthy souls on international waters. And so I'm
Yes.
excited. But Linda,
Thank you.
I'm sure there's going to be many out there who don't know who you are, but I'd love for you to give us a background. Where you from? Where were you born? Did you grow up here in LA? Like, something in regards to who you are, because it's so important. From who you are to who you are today,
Yes.
it's very different, right?
Right.
So please, if you'd like to share with us your background, your lineage, if you will.
Well, I'm from Long Beach. My family's from Compton, but my mom moved us to Long Beach when I was about 12, 13. And it's so both Compton and Long Beach is home to me. Um, so you better watch out.
LVC. My
Yeah.
fellow LVC.
Yeah. And so, I got into real estate very young, but I think that the seed was planted in my heart at a very young age. Growing up in Compton, it wasn't the best neighborhoods. It wasn't even when we moved to Long Beach, I thought we were coming up. I thought we were moving on up.
Yep.
And and it was better than where we came from. But to be honest with you, where I first knew that I wanted more, I was in foster care when I was about 7 or 8. And it was when I went to this foster home that I really knew that there was more out there. And, there was a beautiful neighborhood, a beautiful house, and it was quiet. I remember thinking one of those times that where's the helicopter? And there's no shootings. And it was just more of like, I can't believe this is not, this is quiet,
Yeah,
and
yeah. Very different from Compton, right?
it was very different. Absolutely. And then, I got back to live with I went to a different foster home after that. It was with my great aunt who, God rest her soul. She showed me a different side too. She was a dreamer. She was a person that was always ambitious. And she passed away when after a year and a half of living with her. She got diagnosed with gangrene from complications of diabetes. And she made sure that I was back home with my mom before she passed. And so we did everything that needed to be done for me to go live with her again. And the last thing that she told me was, Mija, you're going to be somebody big in life. You're going to be somebody great. And I want you to just always keep that with you. And I held on to that. I really did. And she was somebody that was very special to me. So when I got back to live with my mom, The Rodney King riots was another thing that I lived while living in Compton, and it did something to me when I'm looking at my neighborhood and it's burned, the stores that we were used to, the neighborhoods. It was very heartbreaking. So my mom made the decision to move us to Long Beach when she, remarried or got with my stepdad. And that was my first time really falling in love with real estate because my mom decided we're gonna buy another property. So when my dad left, he left us this tiny little house in Compton, and it was a lot with a bus on it. And my dad, instead of removing it, he just felt like we're just gonna add to it. So he actually built my house attached to this bus, and
Oh.
the bus was our kitchen and our living room, and then we walked down the stairs, and our house was there. So as ghetto as that was, and as
Well, yeah, but as a kid, that would have been like really cool.
yeah, the kids were always like, "Why do you live in a bus?" And it was ours, and so we didn't really care. We lived there, and all the neighborhood kids would go and play softball or kickball. And so when my mom decided, you know what, we're gonna leave Compton, we're gonna move to Long Beach, it was because she se juntó con, she got a new boy or husband.
Yeah.
And so we go to Long Beach, and we found this realtor that's going to be showing us property, and he shows up in his black Mercedes, all suited and booted, and I was like, oh, this is what I
Ooh,
want to do.
yeah.
And I already had that I wanted more because I knew that it was possible. And I was like, I want this is what I want to be. I want to be a realtor. I want to show people that there are other places they can live, other places they can call home. You don't have to stay where you're at. Like, I knew that at a very young age. I just didn't know that I was going to be in real estate because in my family there was no one to set that example. Like, the women in my family, they didn't have careers. The majority of them didn't work. They were housewives, and that's okay. But it was just, I knew that I wanted something. I just didn't know how I was going to get there. Mm-hmm.
Right, right, right. Wow. From Compton to Long Beach, to witnessing this Mercedes Benz that
Yeah.
was going to take you to buy another house. Like, I'm sure that was very impactful because as a kid, not seeing these nice things, and
Mm-hmm.
you all of a sudden see it and you connect the dots, then you get to dream even bigger because now you're actually seeing something in action
Yes.
versus just watching it on TV. There's no connection, but when there's an actual person driving the vehicle that you think that you can have in your future, you're
Yeah.
like, oh, it can be done. Wow.
Yeah.
So then, okay, Linda, so what after, okay, so you make that awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do in pursuit of that?
So, like I said, I knew that I wanted more. I just wasn't sure. So I started working at a very young age. I was working as a custodian when I was in high school, and when I graduated, I worked for the Long Beach School District as a custodian.
Mm.
And it was a good job, paid well, paid more than your average, jobs back then. But I knew that it was just a job.
Mhm.
And I was going to college at the time, and I was working full time. And I always just kind of, and I didn't realize that I had a vision board before vision boards were popular.
Right. Yeah.
But I would write down my goals, and I always said I had all these things that I wanted to do, right? All these, right. What do you want to be in the future? So I had this long list of things. And it wasn't until I just bumped into someone at the club. And
At the
I was
dancing club?
at a
At
dancing club. I was at the club dancing, and this man, he had all these different. He was in a fancy car, and I was like 19 years old or something, 20, and fancy car, this and that. And he says, he liked my personality. He says, you know what, I think you would be great in the real estate industry. I'm looking for loan officers. I'm looking for someone that can he actually was looking for telemarketers. He's like, I like you sound, you have a great voice. I think you would be great as a telemarketer. And I told him, no, if I have a good job. I'm not in high school anymore. So if you want to hire me, you have to teach me to do your job. And then he says, oh, you can't have my job.
Snap, 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 snap. Yes, yes, girl.
And he goes, oh, you can't have my job. That's my job. And I go, oh, well, don't you feel like you deserve more in the future? Why would you want to, like, don't you want to grow? And then
Yes.
and I go, is that all you want to do? And he's like, oh man, you okay, I'm gonna hire you. So he hired me. And he taught me everything. Him and the broker taught me everything I needed to learn. I taught myself a lot of the stuff that we needed to learn at the time as a loan officer. And and I knew it was a passion for me. I wanted to do it. So I had to make a decision. Okay, I can't do both jobs, and I have to decide if I'm going to continue to go to school. And I wanted to get out of the area that I was in. I wanted to pursue something more. So I literally quit my job. I left school. I moved to Orange County by myself, 20 years old. And I just went 100% in. I knew that I was going to be commission only, and I was going to do whatever I had to do to take care of myself.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And I've been in real estate ever since.
So at the age of 20, so you take off to Orange County. You're a single woman, no kids, no husband, nothing.
Nothing.
Did they come along the way at some point in your life?
Yes, of course.
The kids, right?
My husband, the kids. You know what? When I made the transition from a loan officer into real estate, I was a newlywed. I was a newlywed. My husband and I first, bought our first house in Vegas because we were going to transition over there. And then obviously the market crashed, and that changed the entire future for us. We no longer relocated. I was pregnant at the time, and it was a difficult pregnancy. And so I had to really just make a whole change in life, and that's what happened.
So okay, for those of us out there, when we think of real estate, we're like, oh, realtors and loan officers and stuff like that. But it doesn't always happen that you switch from loan officing to real estate.
Right.
And so have you gone back to be a loan officer, or you're strictly real estate now?
Just real estate.
Oh, okay.
I chose real estate because I loved working with families. And as a loan officer, you don't always get to have that one-on-one connection with them. You don't build that bond a lot of the times. You're just, on the back end. And they're very important for us. Obviously, loan officers are amazing. I wouldn't be able to do my job if it wasn't that I had aligned with amazing loan officers. But, we work as a team. But I'm the front of that team, and I build a relationship with those clients. And that's what I wanted to do, because a lot of the times people don't make those decisions to seek a loan officer if they don't first have a conversation with the realtor.
Right.
Let's talk about your goals and figure out what you want to do. And so I knew that that's exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to work with people and plant that seed of dreaming big and wanting more. And there's no reason why you can't leave the ghetto or leave wherever the situation where you're in that's not working for you.
Right. It's like you can take the ghetto out of the girl, but you can't take the girl out of the ghetto.
Oh, no.
Or vice versa.
No.
So tell me, okay, I've always been curious. I'm like, why, in terms of money, like who makes more money, the loan officer or the realtor? I mean, inquiring minds want to know, because I always wondered, I'm like, if I were to go into that area, like which one makes the most?
Back then when I first started in loans, there was no regulation with how much we could make. You can charge 3% on the front end and back end. So there was no cap, right? And I think that was reason why there was such a big problem with the lending back then, is because there was no regulating. But after the market crash, there was some regulations, and so they are capped on how much money they can make per loan. But that person can have 2 realtors, that loan officer can have 2, 3 realtors, 5 realtors that are all sending them business.
Ah, yeah,
And so
yeah.
now they make their money in value, right?
Mhm.
And then for us, we make it per transaction. And this time around, I don't know if you guys know, in our real estate market, it's going to change a lot
Mm,
because of the new regulations on realtors. And so in about a year and a half from now, if you're on the fence about buying a house, this would be the perfect time. Why? Because sellers are still paying the commission for the buyer's agents. In
okay.
about a year and a half from now, the buyers are going to be responsible for paying that commission. So it's going to be very difficult. It's really recently announced. They're still in the works on exactly how that's going to be, but in about a year and a half from now, buyers are not going to only be responsible for their closing cost, their down payment, but now they're going to have to pay the commission that goes to their buyer's agent. Sellers will not be allowed to pay a buyer's agent commission anymore.
Mira nomás. And all,
Mhm.
of course, this is all lobbying. Um,
Mhm.
it's interesting, huh?
And the
And
ones who are going to be affected the most really are our first-time home buyers, right?
yeah.
Because they count on those down payment assistance programs. But now if we're using the down payment assistance program that's going to go towards their closing cost, well, guess what? Now those closing costs are going to include a buyer's agent commission.
Hmm. And now the seller's not paying that. It's
No.
you, the buyer, who's paying that
Yes.
commission. I thought, well, I can get into another discussion on that,
Yeah.
but that wasn't the purpose of this episode. But okay, well, thank you so much for that, because
Mhm.
obviously for any of you individuals that are out there without property and are looking into
Yeah.
buying something, you might want to consider to do that now versus
I know
later.
a lot of people are waiting for those rates to drop or those properties to drop, but this is the absolute best time that you can actually get into a home with the least amount of money, because there's still sellers willing to pay for closing costs. You still have down payment assistance programs, but you don't have to worry about that buyer's agent commission, and that's a big one. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's huge, because I remember um the when they paid for my buyer, I was like, okay, mira nomás.
Mhm.
They make a pretty penny.
Yeah.
But okay. So knowing that you have all this background and your market was primarily LA Orange County, I'm
Yeah.
sure it has expanded here in the United States.
Yes, it's expanded. I focused in 2020 was one of my biggest years in real estate because I focused on our first time home buyers. And
Okay.
there was a lot of programs that were available. And I coached my clients through, passing that fear of scarcity, and we're in a pandemic and what's going to happen. And I coached them out of that and said, look, this is the absolute best time for you to purchase. And I focused on the families that were around me. I volunteered a lot at the schools. I have a great relationship networking. And so I focused on those families around me, and many of them, and referrals, people that I've known for years. They were all, able to purchase, and they purchased at the perfect time.
Right, right, right.
Mhm.
I know. I know I purchased in 2021,
Mhm.
and yeah, the interest rate was like very good.
Mhm.
But now I'm like,
Mhm.
damn, I don't know if I could have been able to afford if I paid the amount of money I paid in this house with current interest rate, there's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way. Yeah.
It has affected the type of property and maybe the location.
Hmm.
Affordability, people are making more money now. It just, that's the reality is, and that's why we see an increase in the food that we're paying, the things that we're buying. There's an increase because people are making more money, but it affects everything.
Yeah.
Hmm.
No, it is very systematic in that way. One
Hmm.
one leads to another, to another, to another.
Yes.
Okay, amiga. So I want to get into the nitty gritty, which
Mm-hmm.
is you decided, and I want to know how this decision came about and if there was an introduction, that you're going to take your business out of the country as well. So tell us how that magic started, because I was thinking, I'm like, wait a minute, mira, where is she going now? What is she doing? So please take us step by step. What happened?
Well, first of all, I've been in real estate for all these years, right? And I also homeschool. I homeschool my two children, the youngest ones, and I want that flexibility. And I knew that I needed to just offer my clients more, right? So that I can grow my business. And I'm always talking to my kids about think outside the box, what do you want to do? Think big, and that's what I started doing myself. And I think that I had a breakthrough. I went to your vision board. Remember where your
Yes.
vision board
Oh,
event?
thank you for plugging that one in.
Yes. I went to your vision board event. I met some amazing ladies there. And I think I had a breakthrough that time. It really felt like there was something that clicked that I faced at that vision board event. And I just knew that it was my time to really just take off. And when you say yes to an opportunity, when something comes up and you just feel like it's, damn, sounds good, this sounds amazing. Sometimes we talk ourselves out of those great opportunities.
Right.
Sometimes we say no when we're supposed to say yes, and we say yes when we're supposed to say no.
Right.
Well, I went on a women's empowerment trip, and I love the entire trip. We went to Jamaica with my daughter. She was 21. I absolutely loved it. I had an amazing time. And I was like, I love to travel. I always put it in my heart. Like in my vision board, I'm going to travel more. I want to talk to people about, different places that I've been. And I knew from 2020 that people wanted to leave, right? I knew that the people, when they were selling houses, they were like, I want to leave California.
Yeah. No, well, yeah. Well, you and I have gone into many stories about that, but
Yes.
yes.
So people want to leave. They want to leave either out of state. And even now out of state is expensive too, no matter, what other states you're going to, you're not paying the same prices that you were paying back then. And people wanted to, they realized, okay, I can work from anywhere around the world. That's amazing. And I started noticing that companies were moving their businesses to other countries and other states. So I knew that was going to be something that people were going to want to know more about. So on my trip at the in Jamaica, I met this incredible company. The people that were involved in my trip was ITA Global, and both of the owners happened to be there. And they were like, so what do you do, Linda? I'm a realtor. And I was impressed by everything that they did. I was like, this is awesome. Like they took care of every detail, every aspect of the trip. And I said, I was in that mode of I need a network, and how are we going to do business together? So that was my question for him. Hey, I love what you guys are doing. Where are you guys located? I'm in Panama. Our headquarters is in Panama, but Santiago lives in California. And I was like, what? Okay. So how far in California? Where? So it happens to be that he's local here to not too far from where I'm at. And he said, you know what? We've been looking for a realtor that we can collaborate, because we already offer trips to Panama, but we haven't been able to bring people from the States. And so then I said, this is what I've been looking for. I want to give people options. I want people to grow, to enjoy life. And so what if I offer relocation services? Would you be able to facilitate the trip? They said, absolutely. Let me show you what we can do by inviting you to Panama. So that was our first place. Like, let's go to Panama. We went to Panama. I got to see all the infrastructure, why people are relocating. We met with the attorneys, with financing. We were educated on every aspect of why people could and should invest or relocate to Panama. And our good friend Janie,
Yeah,
she says, I've been seeing that you're doing this relocation to Panama. I have clients that are currently have developments in Mexico, and would you like to meet with them? We connected, and now we're offering investment opportunities to Cancun, Mazatlan, and pretty soon we'll have available properties to explore in El Salvador.
Okay, so this company, I mean, let's, I want to backtrack a little bit.
Yes.
So the Santiago and his partner, they're known, what's the name of the company again?
They are ITA Global.
ITA Global. Okay. So ITA Global, are they developers? Is that what they are?
No. ITA Global is actually um, facilitate trips anywhere around the world.
Okay. Okay.
They're
So,
not a travel agency, but what they do is they do custom trips wherever you want to go. If you want to do this is why I met them on the women's empowerment trip.
yeah.
They take care of if there was this young lady that had a vision of having a women's empowerment trip in different parts of the world. So they have women's empowerment trips to Panama, Cuba, Italy. They're just traveling everywhere in these groups.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew that they can handle the facilitating of big groups. So and they handle all the logistics of it. Every
Okay.
aspect of your trip, they take care of your hotel stay, your activities, your dining, everything.
Everything.
And everything. And so when we talked about real estate and offering the services to our clients, I said I want to take my clients from here that are interested in maybe investing or relocating. I want them to not only look at potential properties, but also really get to see the country and fall in love with it and realize why, and then meet the people that are going to help them get there if that's what they want to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So for instance, like, let's just hypothetically talk about this because it's kind of something that I'm thinking. If I were to, like, okay, I already know how these places look. I already know. I don't need someone to package a deal. I just want to potentially invest in real estate in these countries. Is that something that you help out with?
Yes.
Okay. And how does one go about doing that? Because I was born in the United States, although I could potentially derive citizenship, Mexican citizenship from my parents, but I mean, where there's a will, there's a way. So can you walk us through how does someone like me who's interested in something out of the country, how do we go about starting this process?
Well, so it just depends on what if you're thinking about, for example, we have developments in Cancun and you say, I'm interested in buying a potential Airbnb in Cancun. This is, just I want to explore those options. We connect you with the developer. The developer will show you the projects that they have, and they'll also explain to you how the financing works if you're interested in financing, because they do offer that. Sometimes it's not the best option, but there's options for it. And then if you're not a citizen, they'll also go through that process with you. I don't go into details because there's a lot of legalities there, and I just don't, I'm not that expert. So what I do is I connect them. When we go, that's what you're discussing. When you go on our trip, for 3 to 4 days, is you're going for that specific purpose. You're going to learn, how do I, be able to obtain citizenship, or how do I go ahead and establish the trust that will help me purchase? Because you can establish a trust over there to be able to help you purchase without establishing the citizenship.
Okay. If I were we own some businesses, so a business could potentially purchase there, or it must be the individual?
A business can purchase.
Okay. Now, so let's say I'm interested in a condominium in Cancun in one of the developments. Now we're looking at the pricing. Now, how much on a typical 2-bedroom front view to the ocean? Yes. How much are those condos looking at?
About 160.
160 total?
Mm-hmm.
And so then what's the down payment? Let's say we go through the loan officers that you're recommending. What would be the down payment and then the mortgage going forward?
They give you a certain time. So that's the part that I still have to, focus on as far as, being able to share the proper information. A lot of our buyers are cash buyers.
Mm.
So they can go ahead and do that, or they'll give you 2 years to be able to pay it off, 2 to 3 years, and you initially start with 30 with I think 20 to 30% down, and then they give you time to pay it. So it's not like you have to bring the 30%, at once.
Okay. So then, all right. So now, do they also help you with creating this as being an investment, like Airbnb
Yes.
and all those things? Like, because I remember when I was a young girl, I think I must have been there was a time back in the 80s where they had those, what do you call them, timeshares?
Mm-hmm.
And my dad got maneuvered and he bought one. And so he was
Mm-hmm.
on the hook for 30 years. And
Oh my God.
anyhow, he says it was the worst investment he's ever made.
Yes.
But how does it change? How is that different from Airbnb? And
So
what do you guys do with that?
these are not timeshares. These are actual condos that you own and that you can Airbnb. The developers themselves can also manage the property for you. So these are big, beautiful condos that have amenities like big high-end resorts.
Mm,
Um, and it's actually the ones in Cancun are about 15-minute drive from the new airport.
okay.
There's a lot of new developments happening there, even with so many reasons why people want to consider that. They also go over your return on investment. They'll explain to you why, how much you're potentially going to earn, based on the seasons that it's rented out, and they help you both rent it out. You can either do Airbnb or you can have the developers manage it for you.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I would think so out of these type of condos, you've sold many?
We've sold, well, the one in Mazatlan is already sold out. It's completely sold. So there's a few that are still left. This one in Cancun, they're still in the beginning phases.
Mm.
So there's still plenty of them available. I think they're on stage 2. So you have a lot of them available. There's a total of 150 units available.
Okay.
Mm.
Thank you.
Mm.
So, all right. Well, this is fantastic. So now what's next for you? Are you I would think that you purchase your Airbnb or real estate out of the country.
So I'm still debating because my husband wants to purchase in Mexico.
Yeah.
But I have my heart in Panama. I loved
Ah,
it. If you guys have never been, I
yeah.
really loved Panama. That's the place that I want to invest.
And I believe it's
Um,
a tax haven kind of thing, I believe. It's
there's a lot of opportunities in Panama. There's incentives for people that want to purchase. You get citizenship, permanent residency within a couple of months after you purchase your property in Panama. It feels like Manhattan when you're in the city, and then you're like an hour drive to being in the beach or the forest.
yeah.
It's just beautiful. I really love it.
Right, right, right.
Mm-hmm.
I think, well, just for me, I mean, in terms of tourism, I'm not really familiar with how, busy or up and coming it is. I think in this regard, I'd probably go stick with something I already know, which is Cancun, and I'm always going
Mm-hmm.
over there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
my family and I love to stay at this place called, oh my God, it's no, Jesus, it's with an X.
It's got it. Is it? It's
No,
got it. No?
that's the lagoon thing. No, it's well, it doesn't matter. Um
But
it's
Cancun has so much.
beautiful.
It's beautiful. It has a lot. Like I said, we're still kind of going back and forth on which one we would go invest in. But um, there's just there's possibilities anywhere, yeah, honestly, and I'm excited to be able to offer that. We do the relocation trips. that is for people that just really are not sure, but want to kind of take a look and see what it is. And what do you have to lose? You go ahead and take a vacation. If it's for you, great. If it's not, then you don't, you enjoy the
Yeah.
vacation, which
A
is not
vacation
just a,
paid by that company, or you pay your own?
you pay your own, but there is an incentive. If the person decides that they love it and they want to invest, then the developers are offering to reimburse them for the cost of their trip.
I see. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
There's plenty of incentives. So
Yeah.
right now you have Cancun, and Mazatlan is almost sold out, and you're gonna have El Salvador, which I have someone who is so wanting to buy. But anyhow, um, okay. So then what's next for you after this?
I'm just gonna continue to grow this side of the business. I mean, I don't believe that there's enough people talking about it, so I'm really just excited to put it out there and to be that person that they can rely on for both international or even out of state. A lot of people want just options and want to know, like, I offer a free consultation for people to just talk to me about what their goals are and their plans so that I can help them achieve it.
Yeah. And so how do they reach you?
They can reach me directly by phone, or they can find me on my phone number is 714-478-3679. Or you can DM me and follow me on Instagram at Relocation Queen.
There you go. She is the relocation queen, amigas. So, amiga, before I let you go, I'd like for you to share with us one or two tips on how an amiga can handle her shit.
You take risks.
Mhm.
You go out there and put yourself out there because you have no idea who you're going to meet. If you are open to meeting people, network, and just really, if you heard this opportunity come to you, that's because it's God bringing it into you so that you can see if it's for you, right? You'll never know what those opportunities can lead to if
Yeah,
you don't take a chance.
exactly. Oh, I
Mm.
love all that stuff. So thank you so much, Linda,
Thank
for being
you.
here on Amiga Handle Your Shit podcast.
Thank you.